This is an overview of a tutorial for preparation for your assignment for long-term conditions. Please use your module handbook as a reference for your assignment, especially the section on assessment. So hopefully we're going to answer some of these questions. Don't forget the librarians at the Knowledge Spa can be booked. They can help you develop your search strategies for the documents and the journals, etc. that you're going to be looking at. If you have known to have dyslexia or similar disability, please discuss it with your module tutor. There is a lot of information and support on assignment writing on the Moodle site for the university guidance on writing assignments, etc. So when you start to prepare for an assignment, it's important to start to approach it in an academic way. By now you would have started to think about what it was that you're going to be doing, what you might be writing for, but it's important to be ruthless and don't read anything. It's very easy to get sidetracked. Oh, that looks interesting, but actually it isn't relevant to the assignment topic area that you want to write about. Do the keyword scanning, use the literature search for keyword scanning, and look at the way articles are written as a guide to a good academic standard of writing. Where do you start? Well, National Service Frameworks, NICE guidelines, websites, and also Department Health directives as well, all relating to the topic area you're going to explore, but also to the community matron job role, for example, and of course journals are key. So planning in your head and actually getting it on paper are two different things. Some people like to do spider charts, some people like to do post-it things, some people like to blurb things out and rethink things and rearrange them. Hopefully by now you know what is best for you in terms of planning and getting focused on it. It's so easy. The cupboard under the stairs or that big pile of ironing looks far more attractive than writing assignment, and sometimes it can be very frustrating. You could spend a whole day and end up only with a decent one paragraph. We have all been there. We do understand. What I need to be clear to you about is anonymity and confidentiality. It must be maintained. Please don't refer to names of service users, patients, details of colleagues, etc. If it appears that a breach in confidentiality has been made, your mark will be awarded a 0 and you will have to resubmit. Please write in a statement at the beginning of your work. For the purpose of the assignment, I will call the patient Mrs. Bloggs. I referred the patient to the doctor, to the specialist, to another colleague. You don't have to say anything else other than that. So please be careful. We once had somebody submit an assignment, and in the appendix they had put a referral letter about the patient to a doctor. The doctor's name, address was on the referral, and the patient's details had not been completely masked. And so think about what you're actually adding in, and if you're adding in anything, am I breaching confidentiality? You'll submit one copy of your assignment. It will not be returned to you. Please keep a copy for yourself. It is evidence of your NCPD for your revalidation, but also in the unfortunate occurrence that you might need to resubmit, you have something. First or third person, it's acceptable. It's a matter of personal choice. First person is I did this, together we explored together with the patient. Third person is the author conducted a patient assessment or a medicine review. Just be careful not to put the author, or I too much in it. Be creative in the way in which you're writing so that it isn't filled with so many I's and etc. So writing to preset word limit is an intellectual skill. It's designed to encourage you to present your work cohesively and coherently and concisively. So it is an assignment criteria you're judged against. You will not be given a plus minus allowance. You could lose marks for going over the limit. So it is 5,000 words. It's okay to add a few words to finish the sentence, but that is it. That is exclusive for headings, titles, text boxes, and your reference list of the end, but your citations in the body of your work are included in the word limit. If your work is more than 10% below the word limit, it could be said that it's unlikely to contain enough material to merit a pass grade. And if you exceed the word limit, you could get up to a 5% penalty. So please be careful. If you're struggling, please consult your module tutor who can give you some guidance of where you could trim or cut things out. So I'm going to talk about referencing and using others' work. It shows that academic view that you have of the subject, the opinions that you're thinking about, and justification of why you proceed with your patient's care as you have. It shows your ideas are based on a body of academic literature, the evidence-based practice to support your arguments. So referencing shows the reader how you came to your conclusions. It shows that you've looked at a wide variety of sources. It also enables the reader to seek those sources themselves, and it gives credit to the original authors as well. And it avoids plagiarism, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. So, assignment that doesn't include references can't be claimed to be a serious piece of work, could be seen as plagiarism. You may lose marks or fail your assignment. Please, please, please make sure you submit your reference list as well. Some people at the last minute have forgotten to do so, and then that means you're in sticky trouble. Referencing enables your reader to find the source, which I've just said, and they must be accurately and consistently recorded in alphabetical order. If it is thought that you have missed something really crucial from your work, for example, British Heart Foundation guidelines on statin therapy, for example, then you could be losing marks. So you've got to make sure that the gold standards of care, such as NSFs or NICE guidelines, are reflected in your work. So you either write in text and you write the list of reference at the end of your text. You use the author date system, Harvard, and the Plymouth LibGuides show you how to reference anything from a TV program to a radio program to a Twitter to journals, books, etc. Please look at the LibGuides, they're really helpful. So in text citing resources, what we're looking at is the three different things in which you demonstrate your referencing. Quotations, directly saying the words that the person has written. Paraphrasing is where we're looking to see how you analyze things and write them in your own words. So here's a good example. Or you can summarize. Various studies have shown how important it is for contact between service users and care workers, for example. So quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing. Again, the LibGuides will help you. Don't forget to cite the source. So your assess part of your handbook talks quite a lot about how to do referencing, how to present them, and also again there's the LibGuides as well. So please utilise those resources to assist you. So I've talked about plagiarism before, so it's copying without acknowledgement. Sometimes this is done in naivety, writing out something that you've read somewhere else and not acknowledging the author. Or copying another person's work, which is considered a serious offence. In these days also there's something called contract plagiarism, where you would pay somebody to write your work. There are plenty of websites that will offer to write scholarly work. I've even seen essays on mentorship, which is my area, on eBay for sale. If it's suspected that you plagiarised, you'll be awarded a 0. It is classed as an academic offence. It calls into consideration your professional integrity, which gets reported to your employer, who may choose to take this further, and it could go as far as the NMC. So again, the LibGuides do tell you how to avoid plagiarism. Now, I did talk about direct quotations earlier, but they should only be used after careful consideration. They don't actually reflect your ability to analyse, judge, evaluate and discuss merits and deficits and interpreting things in your own words, critical analysis. And, if you overquote, it's going to detriment your marks. So, good evidence base, good use of referencing, well structured, and you're lucky because you've got a structure to follow, which we'll look at in a minute. It is in good formal English. And get somebody to read it. They don't have to be a clinical expert in your field. Sometimes asking somebody who has no idea about what you do really to read something to see whether it makes sense, whether it reads well. So we're looking for analysis, bringing out the central elements. Judgment and valuation about what you've read, discussing merits and deficits, about therapy that's recommended for certain conditions, for example. We're also looking for synthesis, and this is bringing separate elements from others and bringing it into new thoughts and reasoning or conclusion. And we will be looking at to see whether your suggestions or recommendations for future practice bring in synthesis, and this will increase your grade. The marking criteria is in your assess section of your book, but let's have a look at the case study in detail and how it's weighted. So you've got some guidance. Essentially, if you don't include all of the points on this guidance, then you're in danger of not succeeding. 15% has been allocated to the introduction, and then 10% for the evaluation of the relevant literature. And although it's important to look at literature, don't forget it is only 10%. Your case study has a big 25% worth. You've got to give some details about the patient, what's wrong with them, the medical review, investigations and your examination and a management plan. You might decide to identify what system of assessment you're choosing as well, and that all adds to good practice. Again, 25% is to your management plan, thinking about what reviews need to be done and the referrals and what options there may be and the option that you choose. That's quite key because that's indicating your clinical reasoning and decision making. Evaluation of the care management plan, recommendations for improvements for future practice, and your summary conclusion brings together what's happened and your own professional learning and development and recommendations for your further development that is required. Some people come up against some difficulties before hand-in dates. You might have a family crisis, you may be unwell, there may be work pressures. Please talk to your tutor who will give you advice and guide you. Sometimes buying you a little bit extra time. There is evidence that's required and some forms that need to fill in, but sometimes putting things aside while you get the key thing that's interfering with what's happening out of the way, you can come back to it and complete successfully. As well as the LibGuides, these some sites that you can use for academic writing skills, literature referencing, and how to build up your body of knowledge for your work. Wishing you all the best of luck. It's important for you to know that you can make arrangements for tutorials with your tutor. You can share sections of your work or a draft of out view. We cannot read everything that you can't read your whole work. We're not allowed to read it before submission. And that's our regulations. And also you cannot submit for review of any of your work 1 week before submission. And let's face it, if it was a dog's dinner, it's going to take you an awful lot of work to readjust within 1 week. Keep in touch with your tutor. You will get guidance on how your work looks and reads and content, and hopefully you will be successful.